neglects one other thing about the movie, and that is the line, "Do you want to see my ID? Totally have it."
I totally have it. Welcome to Rom-Com Bomb, a Sex Ed with DB podcast series where in every episode we go under the covers with a beloved rom-com, strip away its hidden toxic messages, and rewrite the script on love and sex. We talk a lot about sex education, but when I'm shopping for products to support my sexual wellness, exploration, and expression, I head to the experts at Lion's Den. Lion's Den is a pleasure product retailer with over 50 locations nationwide and hundreds of your favorite brands. They have everything you need to explore and express your sexual side. Right now, you can use code SEXEDWITHDB for 15% off your purchase in-store and online at lionsden.com. Follow them on social media at Lions Den Adult on Instagram and TikTok for exclusive offers, deals, and giveaways. What if I told you that I did a masturbation experiment with the magic wand and the results were incredible? Don't believe me? Let me share a few things with the class. When using the magic wand every day, I experienced less stress, anxiety, and physical tension. I reported more frequent positive moods when using the magic wand every day, including higher levels of confidence. My level of horniness increased over time when using the magic wand every day. And get this, the magic wand team was so excited by my study that now 1,000 people are doing it too. Stay tuned for those results soon. Want to see how else the magic wand impacted me positively? Go to sexedwithdb.com/magicwandexperiment to learn more. When you're traveling, you don't have access to your amazing sex goodie stash. So you start to pack your lube for sexy time in your toiletry bag, and when you open your bag back up, the lube you packed, of course, spills all over your toothbrush, makeup, and floss picks. Enter a brand new product from Uberlube that will get your lube to your destination without spillage. They're new good-to-go travelers, perfect for your purse, pocket, gym bag, or carry-on luggage. The Good To Go Traveler features the same Uberlube product in a discreet aluminum traveler that comes in 6 colors. Use code SEXEDWITHDB for 10% off at uberlube.com. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Rom-Com Bomb. I am your host, DB, sex educator, pleasure expert, and rom-com critic. And today we are jumping into sparkly eyeshadow, questionable age gaps, and the fantasy of fast-forwarding puberty in 13 going on 30. I am so excited, beautiful listener, that you are here. And here to help us dissect 13 going on 30 is the hilarious and thoughtful Paul Caiola, co-host of the podcast That Aged Well, where he and co-host Erica Villalba challenge the movies they grew up on. So perfect fit that you're here today. Welcome, Paul. How are you?
Thank you. Applause. I'm here. I'm ready to get into this movie that I've loved for years.
Same.
Without ever really rewatching. So it was
perfect.
it was fun to do it this way.
Oh my God. I'm so excited that you're here. I feel like 13 going on 30 is such an iconic film that most everybody in the world has seen, if they have existed in our
It's
in our
so
world.
funny. I was talking to my co-host Erica,
Yes.
and in our show, she is the horror fan and I am the rom-com fan.
Oh, okay.
So she will not see rom-coms.
Refuses.
So will, like, outside of like When Harry Met Sally or something, she hasn't seen them.
Right.
So she hasn't seen this movie, and I was like, oh no, I wish you could come on. She's just can't. She's busy. She's fine. She'll be on our show on Monday.
Right.
But I was like, you would actually like this one, I think.
Right.
Because she's very like questioning the tropes.
Right.
Of the genre, which is what we're here to do.
Exactly. That's precisely what we're here to do.
Yeah.
And here is a little trivia teaser that we are going to start with that we will give more information later. But several members of the Six Chicks, aka the clique in this film that bullies Jenna in middle school, that Tom, aka adult Lucy, is in, went on to achieve major stardom. So stick around to find out who out of the Six Chicks did, besides Judy Greer, of course.
Well, obviously.
Obviously. Right, yeah. So yeah, wait and to stick around, and you're going to be very surprised, Paul. I'm sure you are.
I am going to be surprised. I genuinely don't know. This is very exciting.
This is unclear to me.
You are a pleasure expert. This is exactly what I wanted when I came out here.
Thank you so much. What is your relationship to this film? Tell me about when you first saw it. What's your feeling behind it? Tell me everything.
All right. Well, I was an Alias fan. Loved Alias.
Jennifer Garner.
Jennifer Garner, she's making her leap to movie stardom with
wow.
this, right? And it comes out and it gets good reviews. I remember the Entertainment Weekly review was very positive.
Glowing, I'm sure.
Mark Ruffalo was our little like theater kid from New York who was like a huge star in theater, and he was going to make it big, and like he got his glow up and became like this romantic lead.
Yes.
And of course Judy Greer. I mean,
oh my God,
we always love Judy Greer.
She needs more credit. I have to tell you, she is in everything, and she's spectacular.
She's in everything, and she never misses.
Never
Not once. Has missed.
Not once.
Yeah. So this came out. I absolutely went to see it in the theater with friends. Loved it. Maybe saw it one more time, and then have not watched it since 2004, and always just have had my fond memories of being like 13 going on 30. What a hoot.
Right. Yes. So this is, again, this podcast is perfect for you because essentially we're trying to rewire our brains here. This came out in 2004, 21 years ago. There was a lot of norms then that we, took as just this is how it is. And we're here in our, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond to refresh kind of what exactly it is. What kind of messages did we receive from these films? And so I'm glad we're going to unpack them.
Yeah. And I also love when we look at these films on our podcast too. Yes. And you can almost say like, oh, this was progressive.
Right.
They like Friends in 1994 was progressive.
Exactly.
It won GLAAD Awards.
Right.
It was really great for the gay community for what we could get back then.
Exactly.
But now, whoops, it doesn't age so well.
Exactly. You're the premise of your show. And dear listener, here's a quick refresh if you are like Paul and you haven't seen this film in 20 plus years. So in 13 going on 30, awkward teen Jenna Rink wishes to be 30, flirty, and thriving when she is bullied by the 6 chicks and she doesn't get to kiss her middle school sweetie. And she wakes up in her adult body with no memory of how she got there. And with the help from her dear long-lost childhood bestie, Matt, aka Mark Ruffalo, she tries to undo the mistakes of her grown-up mean girl life and find her way back to who she really is. And of course, adult Jenna Rink is beautiful Jennifer Garner. She's just stunning in this film. So cute it hurts me personally.
Absolutely. It's really interesting what they do because like the obvious comp for this movie is Big. And in Big, what happens is Tom Hanks starts out acting like a 10 or 11-year-old, whoever old he is in that movie, and he matures. So like kind of by the end, he realizes he's missing childhood. He wants to go back to childhood because he's acting like an adult.
Right.
They don't do that here.
No.
Which I think is a fascinating choice.
Yeah, really interesting. We're going to get
Jenna
to that craziness.
Refuses to act like an adult.
No, and that's what's so charming is like she is such a 13-year-old girl in a Jennifer Garner body, which kind of lends itself to some problems, to some potential issues. But I guess, okay, so our next segment is called As a Kid. And, I was a child when this film came out 21 years ago. I was 11 or 12. And I guess in terms of one word that really describes my relationship to this film as a kid, it was kind of like, just like goals, hashtag goals. I think I was Jenna Rink's teenage age almost. And like, didn't really like wish to be 30 as a teen, but I thought that her life looked so glamorous as this and she does too, right? She's like, I'm a full-time magazine editor. Like she loves her apartment. She's like beautiful. She's sweet. She got she looks in the yearbook and she's like, I got everything I ever wanted. Right. And it just feels like, oh wow, this is so great. So I just feel like that's my one word. What would your one word be?
Oh, wow. This is, I don't mean this to be a cop-out, but thriller. That is my, because I was a bit older than you. And I still am.
To this day.
Yeah, to this day, I'm still older than you. So I saw this actually having just graduated college in New York. I went to NYU. So like, it was still aspirational, but it was also like, I knew that's not what my apartment was going to look like in 6 years. Like that wasn't going to happen. And that was okay. Right. I wasn't angry at it.
Sure.
But like the struggling photographer is in like a 4-bedroom in the West Village.
Yeah, you're okay, sure. I don't know about that.
Right.
Right.
But like charming, I guess charming more than thriller. Like just a full scale charm offensive from Jennifer Garner and Mark Ruffalo. And really the two of them. Everyone else kind of gets to be a little villainous
Right.
for the most part.
Right.
But that's what I remember, being charmed.
Yes. Except for her boss, who's not villainous. He's just like funny and silly.
And everyone thinks he's just British, but he's actually gay, which is a great thing at the end.
He's both, surprisingly.
He's both. And he's Gollum.
And
That's
Gollum. Exactly. He's Gollum. He also is like the villain in the Black Panther movie, which is crazy.
Yeah,
You're like, whoa, he has range.
He does.
He's Richard in this film. He's talking about his balls getting squished in a vault. You're like, he's the comedic guy, I think, in this film.
Absolutely.
And if in turn, you kind of mentioned thriller, but I am curious, like, is that, we ask everyone, what scene defined this movie for you? Would you say it's the thrill? Tell me about the thriller scene, if that's what it is, or if you have another one.
It was the thriller scene,
Yes.
but what's funny is that I didn't remember anything about the lead up to it. I didn't remember that it was at like this corporate event that she was trying to throw, and she was trying to save the event by doing the thriller dance, because that's what a 13-year-old would do.
Right.
From 1987 would do in that situation. Like, I didn't remember any of that. I just remember Jennifer Garner doing this dance.
Yes.
I couldn't even have said that Mark Ruffalo was in it. I didn't even like I could have told you about the dress. It has like these stripes on the bottom and this weird like lime green
her boobs
top,
are pushed up.
Her boobs are pushed up. She's having fun with her boobs.
Yes.
The whole movie.
Exactly.
It's that scene, and it's one other thing about the movie, and that is the line, "Do you want to see my ID? Totally have it."
I totally have it. I do love, I mean, it's classic. She plays that 13-year-old so well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I also agree. I'm sure that the most iconic scene in the film is the thriller scene, especially because in 2004, Michael Jackson was not fully canceled yet. He was not known as a predator. And so people could still enjoy his music without feeling guilty. Yeah. And like, looking at that scene, it feels like, oh, wow, Thriller, which came out in the 80s with this iconic choreography, really was something so unique and so different. And it's funny how, almost 20 years later, people are still like loving this. And even now, I wonder, 20 years after that, what that would look like if people would still be going to events and doing the Thriller dance, and like what that would be like.
Or what would be the dance in 2007? Like what is there a new Thriller? I don't know if there is.
I mean, it's TikTok dances for sure.
I guess, yeah.
But yeah, I think that in terms of what you were saying before about this movie being charming, like what do you think works about this film? What do you like about it before we, of course, tear it to shreds?
Absolutely. Well, a couple of things. I like the fact that it is not solely about the romance. The romantic plot it's a solid part of the film. I'm not saying it's not a big part, but like it is more about Jenna's internal journey of realizing, hey, maybe I shouldn't be an asshole when I'm 13.
Just dick. She's such an asshole. Yeah, clearly as an adult.
Don't fossilize into a dick. Right. Look, we were all assholes at times when we were 13, most assuredly.
Right.
But like, you have to evolve. And I think it's very funny that she does not evolve, and neither do the other two people that we track through the timeline. It's like those people are frozen in time, and they keep the same personalities. And I have this like theory, because of course it's like there's magic in this, right? Like it's the Zoltar machine in Big.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, well, is this just a hallucination? Is this entire thing actually a hallucination? Because everybody is the exact same person, and Lucy is not given any depth of character, which is fine because she's played by Judy Greer and she's so funny, and I love her and I don't care.
Right.
But like, if in a for lack of a better term, deeper movie,
sure,
it would have been interesting if there was, maybe she had two good friends, Matty and a girl, and we got to see also her relationship with a female best friend or something like that. Because the movie is so focused on really the relationship with Matty, and to a lesser extent the relationship with Lucy, and how they're benefiting or not benefiting Jenna in her development.
Right. That's a good point. And yeah, I think that, Mark Ruffalo does kind of have this monologue when he's about to get married at the end to Wendy. Justice for Wendy, honestly. Like, she was kind of annoying.
She did nothing.
But she did nothing wrong. And like,
she didn't deserve that.
We are meant to hate her.
Yeah.
But, he's kind of like, I moved on. You moved on. That's her family down there. Like, I care about her. And that monologue is very refreshing. I really liked that monologue because I feel like clearly, they share a kiss, which is, he kind of cheated on his fiance, but yeah, not great.
Hmm.
But he kind of admits to like, I have been feeling things these last few weeks, and I've always loved you, and like, I have to be honest, but like this is the reality, is like we are different people now. And so I
Yeah.
did kind of like that. And yeah, I think so much works about this film. I think the fact that it is magic, a lot can happen in a fantasy
Yeah.
world. And so, first of all, the soundtrack fucking slaps.
You put Pat Benatar on a soundtrack, and I will watch the movie.
Hands down.
Hands
I mean,
down, I will watch it.
spectacular. I love, like,
Yeah.
she's like obsessed with Madonna when she's a teen, obviously. And she's like, I know
Hmm.
Madonna. Madonna like writes a note to her. It's just like very sweet. It's again like that goals feeling of like when you're a young kid and all of the
Hmm.
things that you want to happen to you. It's so glamorous in this like magazine world. And she, there's New York City. It's like, it's just so fun that I think like
Yeah.
the whole film is very sweet. And I think, yeah, like you said, the relationship that she and Matty have, it is kind of like a solid part of the film, but it's more about her self-discovery to becoming a better version of herself as an adult.
Yeah. And it's not, she doesn't get Matty at the end of the magic part,
Right.
which she would not have earned. And that, I think, would have been really hard to stomach as an adult watching it for various reasons.
Right.
But like, I like that, exactly the speech you were talking about, where he's like, no, this isn't real.
Right.
What's happening here.
Right. And
Which I thought was a nice thing in a rom-com.
right. And like you said, maybe the whole movie kind of in between the party scenes was an illusion or some kind of thing. But then I am very confused. We have to talk about it. It's very confusing mechanics. She goes back to her 13-year-old self. She kisses Matty and exits her front door. And then she's the one that's marrying Matty.
Yeah.
What do you think story-wise happened there? Did she skip everything, or is it what's
I
happening?
think it's a movie vocabulary for she didn't become an asshole, she lived her life, and she actually
Eventually
was
got
the
the
lucky
guy.
person who like met their soulmate when they were 13 and they actually belonged together.
Exactly, with their
That's what I
razzles.
took from it.
With their
Yeah.
razzles, yes.
With the razzles.
I love that the Razzles was also like its own character in the film.
Yeah.
I feel like good for Razzles, for that company.
Yeah, Yeah, is that a real thing? I didn't even know.
It's
I've never
real.
even heard of razzles.
It's real.
Like,
You should go to a bodega and grab some
Okay.
Razzles this week. That's your homework.
Okay.
Okay. We need to get to the rating before the rewatch. So
Okay.
I asked you to rate the film before the rewatch so we can compare our pre and post watch ratings. But let's go over the rom-com vom rating system first. So it's 1 to
Please.
5 voms. 1 vom. This is my big fat Greek wedding. This is like, it's dated, but I love to watch it every year, and it's so good, and there's like barely anything wrong with it. It's amazing. Still would recommend it. Still on my list. All the way to 5 voms, which is Shallow Hal, right? It's full body cringe, did
Oof.
not age well, terrible, mega yikes. Often it's, homophobia, xenophobia, fat phobia. We're talking everything in there that's
Okay.
bad, bad, bad. What did you rate the film before the rewatch?
Well, Danielle, let me tell you. when you gave me this assignment, the look on my face when I was trying to remember if they slept together. Just
as
absolutely
her 13-year-old self.
Yes, just because again my reference is big, and they do
They
in big.
do.
Poor Elizabeth Perkins ends that movie having to drive off into the sunset screaming forever. Like she never gets to stop the car because she slept with a 10-year-old.
Yeah, a 10-year-old.
In her defense, she did not know that,
Right.
but like there were clues.
Right.
So so I'm sitting there, I'm like, I am 90% sure that they don't sleep together.
Okay, thank God.
Because I remembered that I was like, I know like he has a girlfriend or like he's leaving or something, and I remember that she didn't get him at the end in the first ending.
Yeah.
Of the film.
Right, in the first version, of the ending.
Yes. Yeah. So I was like, I don't think they slept together. So I'm like, all right, we still have some weirdness with like the 13-year-old
Right.
thing, but I'm going to confidently say a 2.
Ooh, very good. I think a 2 is very appropriate.
Okay.
I honestly think I gave it like a 1.5 because I was like, I've seen, I've probably watched this film every few years. Like, again, it has like a very like special place in my heart. I like knew about the age gap, but wasn't really sure like how icky it would be. So I was like, that's probably the main thing that's wrong with the film. And come to see, we're kind of right in this, you know? I mean, like, let's transition now to the main part of this show called That's Problematic, where we go
Mhm.
through a few buckets of things that, to your point about your podcast, just didn't quite age well.
Yeah.
And the first thing is the age gap. So Jenna
Hmm.
is technically a 13-year-old in the mind, navigating the adult
Mhm.
world. And there are some moments, right, where she's kind of like seducing, Lucy's trying to get her to seduce a man at the bar, and then she actually goes for like the 13-year-old boy. So it's like in her head she's
Yeah.
13, but in her body she's Jennifer Garner. So that was really weird. And then because she's mentally in middle school, we're kind of meant to think like, oh, it's just cute because she
Mhm.
is like a little girl who doesn't know. But obviously Matty doesn't know the magic that has occurred, and in his
Right.
reality she's just an adult. And so they're kind of pining after each other while she is this 13-year-old mentally. And it kind of, I find this to be problematic because it kind of blurs these lines around like consent and maturity in a way that like isn't, there's not even a line about it, like they're not,
Yeah.
the writers are not cueing the audience in to know that they know that it's kind of weird,
Mhm.
right?
And I think it's so funny to watch the film and watch them like kind of learn the lessons of Big.
Right.
Like because I think they're
Big is our
really
North Star here because
it
it is
is
very similar.
like they're really trying to make it okay without like you said, they don't really acknowledge it, but like she has a boyfriend. Older Jenna has a boyfriend, and at one point they have him do a striptease, and
Right.
and again he has no idea that like he for all he knows everything is fine. This is the woman I
normal.
slept with last night. It's totally normal, right? So hockey player boyfriend innocent in all of this,
Right.
but like he's doing the striptease and they have her like being very embarrassed, as a 13-year-old absolutely would, as I would be
Oh my
as
God,
at
same.
45 if someone did this for me.
Yes.
So fair enough. But like I think it's funny because like he'll start to kiss her and she almost acts like she doesn't know where it's going.
Mhm.
And I'm growing concerned about the sex education provided by the high school that Jen is attending, or the
Right.
middle school. Like she should,
And she's
have a
from Jersey.
base-
It should be okay.
yeah, she should have a baseline idea of where this is going, and if she doesn't want it to go there, she could just say, "No, I have a headache" or something. I understand, of course. She's 13.
She's
She doesn't
13.
understand. She has these options to her,
Right.
and they are trying to make it funny.
Exactly.
And to their credit, they don't fail at making some of
is
it
pretty
funny. Like,
yeah.
yeah. When she hits on that kid, I was like, I forgot that part. That's funny.
I know.
So
She's like, "Can I borrow your ketchup?" And
Yeah,
they,
and
like
she's-
same kind of shit.
and Jennifer Garner's like acting physically like a 13-year-old,
Yes.
and
she's
it's
so funny in this.
She's so funny, and like she makes friends with a 13-year-old girl that lives
Right.
next door to her,
It's
and like she
sweet.
gets a group of 13-year-old girlfriends, and like they're the ones she tells
sleepover,
about her.
you're like,
the
"Oh."
sleepover's hilarious.
I know.
Yeah. So it's really interesting because they learned the lessons of Big enough that they were able to kind of smooth over a lot of the rocky parts with humor.
Right.
But that doesn't mean the parts aren't rocky. It just means like they made them go down easier.
Hey, podcasters. Want to learn how to make real money from your show without joining a big network or selling out? I'm DB, host of your favorite podcast, Sex Ed with DB, and I built my podcast into a 6-figure business by mastering one thing: sponsorships. Now I'm teaching you exactly how I did it in a virtual 2-part workshop, Making Indie Podcasts That Pay, happening May 27th and May 29th from 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time through Radio Bootcamp. We'll cover how to price your ads, pitch to brands that actually say yes, and build long-term sponsor relationships that pay you, not just your hosting fees. Whether you're in sex ed, storytelling, true crime, or anything else, this is the stuff I wish someone taught me when I started. The class is only $100, and spots are limited. And it's all online, so grab your seat now at radiobootcamp.org/classes or go to the link in the show notes of this episode. And let's get that podcast money. Let's talk about a lube I absolutely love, Uberlube. Uberlube makes sex better for everyone by reducing friction and increasing pleasure. Whether you're using it for solo sex, sex with a partner, or both, Uberlube has a long-lasting performance that lets skin feel skin. It has simple, body, and condom-friendly ingredients, is scent and color-free, dissipates when no longer needed so there's no sticky residue, and is recommended by leading doctors. Use code SEXEDWITHDB for 10% off at uberloop.com. In a world that constantly encourages you to change, it's bold to just be yourself. Sexual expression and satisfaction are different for everybody, so rather than conforming to others, focus on falling in love with who you are. Lion's Den sources the very best products to help you find what you like, and to help you feel confident expressing your sexual desires. You can get 15% off in-store and online using code SEXEDWITHDB at lionsden.com to begin exploring everything about yourself. Follow them on social at Lions Den Adult on Instagram and TikTok. Okay, so we went over the age gap. Let's go over the trope that's like, quote, not like other girls, right? Like this is kind of a classic rom-com trope that's, typically in films like this that are very white, very skinny, very straight. Like Elle Woods kind of falls into this trope of like, I'm a smart blonde. I'm not like the other Harvard girls, right? Like there are so many women around this time, right? Where she's framed as special, but in this case it's because she's a kid, right? She likes razzles. Her, Matty, her childhood best friend, like, it's just it's very childish, where like other women in the film, like Lucy, for example, Judy Greer, our queen, she is portrayed as competitive and manipulative and shallow. And even young Jenna wants to be like, cool and like the six chicks. But ultimately the lesson that we learn is that like those girls are mean and that's fake and that's bad. But I think that the problem here lies where it kind of does this classic rom-com thing where it kind of pits women against each other and like upholds the idea of like, the manic pixie dream girl kind of thing, or the, being quirky or like silly or offbeat kind of makes you better than other women and more desirable.
Yes, and I think that's another thing that really could have been helped if she had a female friend as well as Matty.
That's what you said.
Like, so we could have seen like another relationship, because it's fine to have a female villain. That's fine. It's just like, if that's the only, it's either you're a 13-year-old who hasn't crystallized into an asshole, or you're an asshole. Like that's the only two options. And like, look, her assistant seems lovely.
Right. And she's so sweet, Arlene.
She's so sweet, and that's kind of it as far as female representation.
Right.
It's funny. I don't know if you noticed this. There's a woman who I think her name is Polly. She's like with them a lot. And I was like, that woman looks really familiar. And she's Susan Egan, who was the original Belle in Beauty and the Beast on Broadway.
Oh my God.
And I finally figured out why I knew her. And I was like, I wonder if she had a lot more to do in some version of this script, because she's not nobody.
Right.
That's playing this role. And she really has like half a line, but pops up all the time.
Across bangs?
Yeah.
Okay. She's very cute. I love that haircut.
Yeah, and I'm like, I wonder if that could have just been someone, because she would have been of the right age to be like, she also traveled with them into the future or something. And she, Polly Young was just friends with Matty and Jenna, and she and Matty were cool, and Jenna kind of wasn't. Like, I mean, Matty at 13 might be cooler than I am now. He has the confidence to jam out to the Talking Heads alone.
I know.
At a middle school party.
We haven't even talked about the house that he makes for her.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. He makes her this beautiful dollhouse at 13. That's an exact replica of her home. And it's so sweet and just like the cutest thing that a boy could ever do for a girl that he has a crush on.
Yeah.
And
she's like, suck
friends.
less.
Yes. I know. I don't need a play-by-play. She just wants to be cool. Yeah. She just hates that she's uncool. I love when she says, I hate you, I hate me, I hate everything. That really encapsulated like the reality, I feel like, of what it is to be a teenager and the hell.
Yeah, it makes me think too that the other comp for this movie is Mean Girls.
Yes, exactly.
Right, like what perhaps not only girls, but like this is the topic we're on, like what girls are trained to feel about each other. You're in competition, you're in some kind of competition over a man usually. I mean, they're very young for that, but like that's what society is putting in.
Exactly. And yeah, Mean Girls and this film actually, I believe, came out around the same time, 2004. And the final kind of that's problematic bucket that we have here is like what this film says about the era in general.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was kind of peak like girl boss energy, right? Like
Yeah.
magazines were on top. Like being 30 and single was kind of seen as like a crisis. But it's interesting because in this film, when Judy Greer's character Lucy picks Jenna up from her home and she is about to tell her something, she goes, "Oh no, you're pregnant." She's like, "Thank God." Like, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that is a different kind of reaction than maybe most other films would react in this way. Like it kind of does seem like, oh, like this kind of like women girl boss energy
Yeah.
is more important than getting the guy, which like to me is an advancement, I feel.
Absolutely. Like there's definitely whatever wave of feminism it was in that early
Right.
2000s. It's there. It's definitely there. The other thing that I thought about immediately when you said that was when I was in that big party scene where they do the
Yes.
Thriller dance. I was watching all of the extras in their costumes, and all of the women are in like heels and like the tiny little
Oh
dresses, and
yeah.
like that was it. And the men are in the baggiest, crappiest looking jeans and these shirts that don't fit and this terrible haircut. And I was like, what were women accepting
Right.
from people? Like, if
The
I have to
bare
do
minimum.
this, you have to get a pair of pants that fit.
Correct.
Period. End of story.
Correct.
Like,
Oh my God,
it's the least you could do.
and Jenna's outfits and like her sticks in her hair and like all the
Uh-huh.
all the thing. I'm just like, what is going on here? There's a lot happening, and it's kind
There's
of
a
like
lot.
they get away with it because it's a 13-year-old dressing herself as a
Hmm.
30-year-old. So you're kind of like, okay, hard to, the lines are kind of blurred there, but it does make me kind of think of, Devil Wears Prada, like opening scene, like
Oh,
where,
sure.
it's all about magazines, it's all about models, it's all about them fucking weighing Cheerios or
Hmm.
oatmeal and seeing how many calories they have and them kind of cut it, it's all about diet culture. And I do think that peeked through a tiny bit in this film, a little bit, just by way of who our stars were, at least our
Yeah.
female leads. I do think Mark Ruffalo, though, is kind of an interesting, like you said, like he came from a theater background. He's not really the rom-com lead
Yeah.
typically at this time yet. So I don't know. They kind of like very slightly subvert these
A little bit.
norms. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny. I just remember when Jennifer Garner was on Alias, the diatribes people would write about her abs,
Oh
which
my
were,
God.
to be clear, superhuman, like insane. And I'm like, okay, so Jenna's also running around really
Just
strongly in high heels with
ripped.
a bare midriff.
Yes.
Like,
She is ripped. Her
yeah,
body just is spectacular, and
uh huh,
I think that was also clear to me as a mid-size, like kind of chubby 13-year-old girl. Of like, wow, this girl
right,
is skinny and she's pretty, and like that
yeah,
was very like she did scream lead to me as
yeah,
a kid when I first saw this.
absolutely,
Yeah, very very clear that's not. I think that's what we've come up with. I think in most of these
hmm,
rom-coms of like, it almost doesn't even need to be said, but just like the white, straight, skinny kind of like nature of all of the leads and how that
yeah,
hasn't really changed until the last like 5 years, basically.
yeah.
Like that's
I
been
also
the
think it's
norm.
so fast. I think it's so fascinating that even in the thriller scene, there is one black person dancing with like
And like the DJ's
25 white
black and like
people.
that's
Yeah, the
it.
DJ's black. And I'm like, okay,
Like what's
sure.
going on here? Yeah.
I don't think this is our culture
Right.
so much.
That's correct. We had on Brandon Kyle Goodman for
Oh, yeah, yeah.
our episode on Legally Blonde, and they put this really well of like, if you're not going home with the black character, aka you don't know anything about their life, their relationships, their work, then like that's not meaningful representation. And I
Yeah,
feel like that's just such a common thread through a lot of these films is we don't go home with any people of color. We don't go home with any gay
yeah,
people. Like, Richard is the boss who's gay, who's funny, and, a step up, his gayness, his queerness is not the punchline, which
yeah,
is, there's one moment where Jen is like, "Are you gay?" And, she's genuinely unsure because she's in a 13-year-old,
Hmm.
brain. And he just kind of laughs at her as kind of like a,
Yeah.
yes, I'm gay. Like, of course I'm
Right.
gay, but
Of
it's
course I'm
not,
gay.
but it's not the punchline. So I think like this movie could have done better, but it did not punch down in many ways that other films did.
Yeah. What we always say on our show is it's sins of omission.
Yes.
So it's not, there's nothing outwardly offensive.
Right.
It's just like, it's in New York without any black people or Hispanic people or Asian people or,
Right.
Very small amount of queer people. And like everyone's kind of looks the same,
Right. Which is, that's what Sex and the City did. And like,
Totally.
there's so many very popular kind of like rom-com-y type things that really like led the movement for many of these things. And, we are doing the rewatch now and we know better and we can do better in future media. But, I think I want to end here on the problematic piece with our cringe corner, which is just like one moment, one character, one line, one thing that you found particularly cringy. I'll give you a minute to think about it. For me, like, even though it is sweet, I will say the sleepover scene with the 13-year-olds, just because Jenna, if I'm a parent of one of those kids, am I going to let my teen kind of go sleep over a 30-year-old's house? No, I will not do that. And so
maybe if you're an Upper East Side parent,
that's
so
true.
you're not really there.
That's true. They're at a fundraiser. They are busy.
They're at a gala.
They're at a gala for the rest of their lives. They are busy. But I think that, in actuality, it is weird. In the movie, it's very cute and sweet, and it's a cute like music video kind of moment. But the fact that she mostly relates to 13-year-olds as an adult is tough. Yeah. It's a tough sell.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go with the obvious one, but I have two.
Okay.
So the obvious one is, of course, when they make Mark Ruffalo kiss the 13-year-old.
Exactly.
Which is, and to be fair, it's a relatively brief kiss, and he stops it very quickly.
And it's so Jennifer Garner's body, so you don't know. He doesn't know.
And he does not believe that he just thinks she's had like a mental break or something. He doesn't delve into it too much.
He's like, K-hole? Are you on drugs?
Yeah. Like, okay, you're actually cool again, so I'll hang out with you, but like, I don't know what's actually going on. The other one that I think about is the striptease, only because they have this poor guy. And look, I think he does a good job because he's supposed to be kind of
doofy.
Silly.
Yeah.
Doofy, yes. So kudos to the actor. I actually don't know his name, but they put him in these tighty whities, and I'm like, the VPL in this scene, I would have thought I would have remembered that because I can see your penis, sir. Like and it keeps cutting back.
And his balls, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a large bulge.
There's 3 separate entities in those tidy whities.
Right. It's like, please put him in briefs. At least.
Absolutely. A pair of boxers. No problem.
We don't need to see the outline. She doesn't need to see that outline. She's a youth. Let's not let us not forget. Okay, but now, Paul, we get to do a rewrite of how we would tell this story today. I kind of want to jam on the idea that you've been giving of her having a best female friend. And maybe it's a lesbian. Maybe we get that.
Sure.
Maybe we get that representation.
Maybe. Hang on. I don't want you to fall over. You're seated down, right? Maybe she's Asian.
Maybe she's an Asian girl. Okay.
Could it be?
Possible?
Is it she?
Did they have Asians in the 1980s living in New Jersey? I think they did.
I think they did. Certainly. Was Biling available?
I feel like this is a great idea because, like you said, it would give that kind of extra perspective of them being good friends without pitting women against each other. And also it would kind of serve as the foil to the Matty character. Maybe she and Matty in adulthood are still friends or something.
Yeah.
And maybe there's like a way that we can feel a little bit more comfortable with this idea. What do you want to jam on this idea a little bit more? What do you think?
I think that I have another slight tweak that I think might unlock something. What if Matty believes her?
That she is actually
13. She somehow convinces him and our hypothetical lesbian named Josephine.
Yes.
She convinces Matty and Josephine that she is actually Jenna, and that then she can fall in love with him.
Right.
And he does not have to fall in love with her.
Right.
He does not have to have those feelings.
Right.
And that removes Because it's fine for her as a 13-year-old to have a crush on grown-up Matty who looks like Mark Ruffalo.
Right.
Like, there's no issue with that.
Totally.
And then she could try to kiss him, and he could, no.
I can't do it. Or let me give you one better, Paul.
Please.
This is what I wrote down. What if Matty and Jenna both were fast-forwarded into their adult lives?
Oh, there you go.
Their romance isn't so creepy because they're both 13-year-olds in 30-year-olds' bodies.
Yes. And then you get, it's almost like a split screen kind of situation going on. Like, oh, Matty's still kind of cool and he gets to figure out photography, and Jenna still has become an asshole. And she's like, wait, I didn't want to be an asshole. What happened?
Right. I feel like this version of it, and we're adding in Josephine, is like the best case scenario, because honestly, usually during this time, it's like, oh, we need to, with other films, it's like, oh, I want to take out all the fucking homophobia, casual homophobia in this. Like, we just did a recording for Just Friends, and there's so much just casual homophobia in there. It's
okay.
Or like a fat suit. We're like, we're taking that out.
Yeah.
Like, it's just very obvious things. But this is like, we're working. We're on staff right now. We're in a writer's room.
Yeah.
Trying to
put us on.
this.
Look at this. This is free.
The writers need to take some notes here. All right, Paul. We're gonna actually do our post-watch rating before I let you go here, and before we do a trivia teaser information about the Six Chicks. You were on the edge of your seat about the Six Chicks.
I still am.
I can't wait to tell you.
My breath has been baited for 40 minutes.
Tell me what your post-watch, after all of this, after everything we've discussed, what is your post-watch rating on the vom scale, 1 to 5 voms? What do you got? You started with a 2. Where are you?
I started with a 2 because I was concerned.
Right. You were worried.
I don't think it's quite a 1, but I don't think it's a 2. So I'm going to follow your lead.
And I'm going to say a 1.5. I think that's where I'm staying, because after talking about the weird age gap stuff, and how it's just kind of weird that she is a 13-year-old in this body, and it could have been fixed with one line. You know what I mean? Something to cue us in that like people know. And so I'm leaving it at a 1.5. But overall, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. We're very close to a 1 here, which I'm happy with.
And like, if it's teaching young people that they're going to be able to live in a 5-bedroom penthouse on the Upper East Side when they're 30, I mean, let them dream.
Right. We
the harm?
Need a dream. And I actually, when I was preparing for this episode, trying to think of a good trivia teaser, I learned that today her apartment would be worth $5 million. That's what people estimate. It would be $5 million. But let's talk about the trivia teaser you want to know about. Okay. The famous Six Chicks. If you look closely, you may see some familiar faces in the Six Chicks. Someone named Ashley Benson later became a teen TV staple after starring in Pretty Little Liars. So
Little Liars, absolutely.
She's one of the Six Chicks. And I
believe she also was a Cara Delevingne's girlfriend for a while.
Oh, I love that knowledge. I really love random, like this is connected to this and this person knows this person. And this is the kicker here. Brie Larson was in the Six Chicks.
She was?
She was. I've noticed it yesterday. She won an Oscar for Best Actress in 2016 in her performance in Room, and she is Mrs. Marvel, or whatever the fuck her name is, and
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel, and she's in a million things, and we love Brie Larson. She's incredible.
Yeah, she's an A-lister.
And she's a Six Chick. Pretty incredible.
Wow, I got to go look again because I genuinely didn't clock either one of them.
I know, she's very tall. She's one of the tall blonder ones. You'll see.
Okay.
I'm excited for you
Excellent. I'm excited.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Are you ready to hear next week's trivia? And you can make some guesses in your head as to what it is. Okay.
Please.
Next week, this flirty Friends with Benefits rom-com started as a bromance written for 2 male leads. Then Hollywood did what Hollywood does and rewrote the script, changed the title, and added an Oscar-winning woman and a sitcom star. Guess which movie almost gave us a queer buddy comedy and ended up with a straight emotional mess instead?
It's the one with Ashton Kutcher and
You're ruining
Natalie
it,
Portman.
Paul. Yes, it is. No strings attached. All right, people, you're getting an inside scoop here.
I love this game.
It's an amazing game. Next week actually is our last episode of Rom-Com Vom. I know, very sad. So make sure you tune in and share your guesses. Say no strings attached with a rom-com that you remember from growing up. If you want us to cover it, maybe in a future season of Rom-Com Vom, by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, leaving a comment on Spotify. Paul, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can people find you?
Oh, thank you for having me. You can find me on That Age Well podcast, dropping every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts. Me and Erica, we go through, we do a colonoscopy on these movies. These are long form episodes. We don't skip things. We get in there and we talk about it. So if you've got a long commute, if you got a boring job with data entry,
I'm sure you
we
do.
are your ticket to some giggles
Yes.
while that's happening.
Yes, and we will put that in our show notes for folks. And yeah, Paul, you rock. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I had a great time.
Our creator, host, and executive producer is me, Danielle Bezalel, aka DB. Our producer is Sadie Leegee. Our communications lead is Catherine Cohen. Our music theme is by Hook Sounds. Thanks so much to our featured guests, partners, and listeners. If you have a rom-com you remember from growing up and want us to cover it on Rom-Com Bomb, submit it to us by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and leaving a comment on Spotify. Want to partner with us? Email us at sexedwithdb@gmail.com. For more sex ed content, follow us on Instagram @sexedwithdbpodcast. See you next time.